Yo, welcome back to the greatest podcast in the world. This is Shooting the Shit Uncensored, and I'm your host, the truth, the dad bod god, the bald, the beard, the beautiful Piers Austin. And once again, I'm joined by the man, the myth, the legend, the man with the three largest legs in professional wrestling, the OG himself, Mr. Robbie Zucco. What's going on, big Zucco?
How are you, my friend? Are you doing well?
I'm doing very well, bro. Oh, man,
you're spotting that Bubba Ray outfit that you got on right now. You look like Bubba Ray with that flannelette and the bald head. It's good. It's good.
Yeah, man. It's amazing how many people have this look now of a bald head and beard. You know what I mean? So, but hey, why not? You know, I'll dig into the craze. But man, we got a very special guest joining us tonight, Rob. This is a very special episode, man. Because like, dude, this is an episode like we were supposed to do months ago, and then like everything happened, and we weren't able to do it, and now we're actually doing it right here, right now, tonight. I'm excited. Are you excited for tonight?
Dude, I'm really excited. You know, this guy is a close friend of mine. He's been a mentor. He's actually a guy I really look up to, not just in wrestling, but outside of wrestling. So yeah, no, definitely someone I want to really talk to.
100%, man. But before we get into that, we need to take a quick pause for that cause to thank our sponsor, healthvape.com. Now, listen, healthvape.com is your healthy vaping alternative. So listen up, all you filthy smokers and you filthy cloud chucking vape people. You need to go and check out healthvape.com. This is your healthy vaping alternative. All of their products are no nicotine, no addictive or harmful chemicals. They help restore your energy while giving you the vital boost you need to get through your day. And they are vitamin infused, Rob. Do you believe that? It's like vaping a friggin' Red Bull, seriously. But listen, everyone, go and check out healthvape.com. Use that promo code MWAPOD to get a 10% discount on your final purchase. Damn, wow. Dude, you need to go. You know what? Maybe the greaser needs to change from having a cigarette in his ear to having one like a fucking health vape in his ear, like just walking around.
Yeah, in a separate home for sure. A flick one.
I like it. Yeah, good idea. But wherever you are tuning in, ladies and gentlemen, if you're tuning in on YouTube, please like, share, subscribe, hit the bell to stay notified. All that good shit, because you know we are bringing you the best conversations, interviews in professional wrestling, mixed martial arts, boxing, Muay Thai, comedy, music, you name it. We bring it to you right here, baby, on the Piers Austin channel. So make sure you tap that link and tap in, because you ain't going to miss what we got putting down. And if you're listening on a podcast platform, please give us a 5-star review. It helps with the analytics, and it helps us bring more amazing conversations to more amazing little motherfuckers like yourselves. So get to tapping and tap in. Woo! Had to get that out, bro. Had to get it out.
Well said. Lovely.
Thank you very much. But who is our guest tonight, Rob? I want you to do the honors. Let's do the intro, and let's get into it.
We're introducing the man who is 270 pounds of pure steel and sex appeal. None other than the Freebird himself, Hunter Hayes.
Welcome back to the greatest podcast in the world. And I'm here with one of my favorite people in the entire world. And I know I say that about everyone, but this time I actually mean it. And I'm not going to tell which one I'm talking to either. So, but welcome to the show, Robbie Zucco and Hunter P.S. Hayes. Great to have you guys on.
Thank you for the good company, boys. And Roberto, thank you for the kind intro as always.
How you doing, brother? You doing
Hey,
well?
I'm good. I'm good.
Yeah.
Busy Monday as always. Every day is pretty busy, but glad to be here. Happy to be here, and finally we could get it done. So thanks
100%,
for having
man.
us, Piers.
Mate, it's an absolute pleasure, bro, to have you here, man. You had a show on Saturday night, Simply the Best for your promotion, Rock and Roll Wrestling. Man, tell us a little bit about that show, man. How was it? Was it a sellout? What was it like?
So we had just over 200 people. Like it was like probably like 210 or something like that. 210. Um, it was no, it was a good show. Like we do what we do. Like we always. I mean, throughout my years of running it and whatever, we always pull a good crowd, and the guys put in a really good effort. We had a couple of cards subject to change because I think we had Tuckman on the show and he got influenza or whatever, so we had to change things around. But the guys just adapted and put on a good show, and it's always a really we're very very blessed down here, to be honest. I mean, Rob's been wrestling down here for 15 years for me, and it's like whatever we do, we're doing right because they just keep turning up. And like 200 is not a good enough draw for me, as Rob will know. But like it's better than looking out and just seeing empty seats and whatnot, and it still pays the bills as well. But we always just try to strive for a little bit more. But no, we were lucky to have a few fresh faces on the show, which was nice. But yeah, it's always good. It's something I always look forward to. The once a month in Wollongong is really, really good. And it's been really hard because COVID absolutely killed us like it probably would have done many people.
Yeah, man. COVID was one of those things where I feel like really, fucked over the entertainment world really in a big way. Movies couldn't be made, TV series couldn't be made, live events couldn't be held. But I always said, like, even after COVID, and I think I was pretty much right on this because a lot of the shows that I go to, it seems like there's more people now going to shows and shows seem more fuller than what they did pre-COVID because I feel like people who were wrestling fans who never went to shows are probably like, man, as soon as this lockdown's out, I'm going to go to a fucking wrestling show. And you know what I mean? Like that sort of thing. It's like,
I
motivating.
agree. And I also think that people are actually for good quality entertainment now, which I've always thought is something that we have prided ourselves on. Like they're willing to actually like pay. Like we have provided like New South Wales, South Coast, Wollongong with such cheap. I found a post the other day, Rob's on it from 15 years ago. And I think tickets are $8 for kids and they're $12 for adults, right? And it's like, and back then we still were drawing the same sort of numbers, like depending on where we went, some, and then I think the fact that people are willing to pay $25 for like for the front first 3 rows, and then this venue has like elevated tables, and then people are willing to literally pay for their family to come and pay $25 a pop, which is then a reflection of the reward for my wrestling family to sort of be paid and distributed. Like that has been, how they say like success takes that 15-20 year mark, and like we always, like Rob and I and the rest of the crew are never content with where we're at. And there's setbacks and whatever, but I feel very blessed that the other night we got 200 people turned up, and they're willing to put their money on the table for us to suspend their belief system for 2 hours and forget about all the horrible stuff that might be happening in their world, and they come and enjoy it for what it is. And we talk every single show. If we don't knock it out here, it might be 200 tonight. It could be 120 the next. If you knock it out of the show, it could be 200 tonight. It could be 250 next. The hardest thing is, and I know there's cost of living and whatnot, but we were selling out that club 350 every single show with no internationals before COVID. And right now it's like we've had 2 to 250 in the half a dozen shows we've been back and whatever. And we've just, but that like, I'm a pretty busy fella, and I used to be able to, like, the promoting side of it, haven't applied it all because it was just coming back from COVID. So like 2024 will be the year that we just go all out. But I just feel blessed that we've been doing it for so long, and people just give us that love in return.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, I think as well, being like, Wollongong being just out of Sydney as well. So people who live locally in that Wollongong area can at least go to a wrestling show, but also then rock and roll be its local promotion where every month that they can go see the show and they can sort of follow the storylines and see Keto and Bachelor and Dicko and Otis and the entire crew there that perform quite regularly. And I think like that's probably like almost a good thing for the community of Wollongong as well, because it gives people that sort of that sense of like almost like ownership of the promotion as well, to a certain extent, because it's like, this is our promotion, this is what these guys are like that perform for us every month.
200%. But let me tell you this, I'm always a man of going off populations. And I don't know what the population of the Illawarra is now. I think at one point it was like 200,000 or something like that. It would have grown, exponentially, you would think, with all the developments down here. But I always go off the percentages. So if you've got 200, let's just say 250,000, and you can't get 250 people to your show, and you take the percentage of that, then you don't know what you're doing. You know what I mean? And that's why I always say that what we're drawing is not good enough. But in the other thing is like, everyone thinks everything's done through social media and what now. But what they don't understand is that it's all connected. So it's like what I was saying before, you don't put on a good show, then if you put on a good show, that word of mouth is the best sort of thing. Like, I come to you and I go, Piers, you got to go and see, this guy Rob, singing, 90s hits down the pub, like he's amazing, blah, blah, whatever. But if you go off them sort of things, it's actually quite simple with what you need to do. But that's why I just don't think we scratch the surface. We get new people every single show. Oh, I didn't even know you were here. Mate, we've been here 15 years. But obviously, we are missing something to be able to get out to the masses. Because how many, and we're all, we've all got families and kids, right? And it's like, so how many families are there in the Illawarra? How many families are there in Sydney? You just got to tap into it. And it's 15 years later, and it's a continuous process.
Yeah.
Do you feel like the streaming side of things is something that is important for like your promotion, or is that something?
The thing that we are lacking is video production, and we should be on streaming services, because probably the proudest moment for me, again, since whenever I opened the training school in 2012 or 2011 or whatever it was, is my guys now are seasoned. Like the guys that began in the first, like you got Keaton or Moses now, and he's, having a run with the strap. Otis has wrestled basically every international we've ever brung out. And these guys are very, very talented guys, like extremely talented guys. But sometimes with the development of them, and it's always continuous development, it's whenever the penny drops. So if you take someone like Captain Keto or now Moses, is that guy's lost like 30, 40 kilos. And now he's what I was telling him when he wasn't in the shape that he wanted to be, is you've got all the tools of the trade. You will be the man and the guy leading the company. But until that penny drops where you really, really want it and you live and breathe it, like, it's that moment. And now, so the likes of him, the likes of Otis, the likes of Morgan Rose, we had someone pull out, he pulled double duty. He did the job twice on the weekend, couldn't care, put his heart and soul into it. And it's just like, then you start to see that they're starting to get it. Then when you're mapping it out, and you're just going like this, I can't, and it's, Rob and I have done it many times over the years, and I'm sure, Piers, you have these moments too. It's like, I can sit here and know that I've got what I think is a wealth of knowledge of, whether it be wrestling, promoting, my personal life and my job. But until you get around positive, like-minded people that are buying into what you want to do, and you're not selfish enough, you are not selfish to want everything from them for nothing, and what opportunities are you going to give them in return? Like Keaton investing in himself, and now look where he is. And I'll tell you something is that he's been he's had the strap for like 3 or 4 shows now, and he's gone and wrestled 2 of my sort of like other trainees in Eric Fisher, and on the weekend we called an audible and put Dick Owen with him. And those last 2 matches, I could not be prouder of the outcome of him leading the match, because if like when he was a babyface and when he wasn't where he was today with knowledge, physical fitness, physique, everything like that, I was like, there's no way this guy can carry others, let alone himself.
Yeah.
And now he's put it all together, and he's just hitting home runs. The last 2 shows, like I couldn't, like that's what you want. And the whole thing is especially in this day and age, it's like you try to be tough on people. And I'm not talking about standing there abusing them, whatever. I'm talking about like sitting under the tree, like I did with Rob for bloody the last 15 years. And not just, and I know I've watched many of your podcasts, but it's like very quickly you should sort out with who I should get knowledge from. And even people that are giving you knowledge that might not be for you or what you think is the correct knowledge, you can still take a bit from everyone. And even if like Rob's at my face and he's telling me, oh, you did this, right? Like, because we've all had it, right? And it's like you look back and you go, you know, such and such is telling me, he's like, you need to do this, you need to do this. But you know that he is still, he's hiding behind something because he's probably within his own development still, but he wants to be the bigger man and try to keep the pegging leg. But you can still be there and just nod and say, really appreciate your advice. You know, you don't even have to say you're going to take it on board, but I appreciate you talking to me, taking the time out and whatnot. But from the likes of Otis, Moses, Keaton, whatever, and even the ones that are where those 2 guys were 3-4 years ago, it's just very exciting times, because it's like my baby is growing, and then like I'm at a stage now where I don't have to be that figure, as you know, the last thing I want to be is being the main event, to be honest. Like, and it's time for those younger ones. And Rob will, I know when Rob and Dave were on here talking, it's the same thing. Like, they're having a blast now. Like, Rob wasn't at the show on the weekend, and there was a bit of the show missing. Do you know what I mean? And I'm not necessarily just talking, definitely in the performance aspect, but backstage, I don't get to see my wrestling brother of 15 years that, you know, you just go and you look forward because, you know, you get to, and really we probably spend like, I don't know, not even 30 minutes talking to each other the whole day because we're all doing our own thing, but it just makes it right. And surround yourself with the right people.
And that's 100% right. And I feel like that's the thing now, and probably in the last 12 months, where I really embrace that. So when I'm on shows, you know, with people that are like my friends, like Nathan and Rob and, you know, Sonic and, you know, and you know, a few others. And it's like, you know, after the show, going and having that feed and hanging out. And it's like, you know what I mean? Like my wife goes like, you know, you're gone for like 12 hours when it's a show day. And she goes, is it worth it at the end of the day? I said, yeah, because I get to hang out with my mates and get, you know what I mean? Like, that's the way, you know what I mean? Like, it's actually enjoyable, because it's like, you know, if I'm going to a show and I know Rob's going to be there, I know I'm going to be laughing my ass off for the majority of the time. If I know Nate, you know what I mean? Like, I know there's going to be good banter because there's going to be all these guys there. But one of the things I wanted to really sort of like bring to light, and this is something I've noticed, is like every single one of the guys that trains with Rock and Roll and down at Wollongong is one of that. They are all the most professional, nicest, respectful human beings that I have met, not just in wrestling, but in fucking life. And the way that they carry themselves and the way that they present themselves is all very, very similar. And I mean that in a respect for how they present themselves respectfully.
You took the words right out of my mouth with that, because I was going to say that next, but no, it's exactly what they are. And that's the reason why I go down. I go down there all the time to see them. They're respectful guys. They're a great bunch of people, inside and outside. You know what I mean? They're extremely loving. It's not a cutthroat. It's more of a family type of environment. and it's so good. It's always so good to be around. And no matter who they bring in, they always welcome every single one of them. You know what I mean? Everyone's welcome. Everyone's, you know, family here to do show, enjoy ourselves. And, you know, and that's a lot of it has to do with where it starts. So it starts with Luke. And whenever you have good leadership, you know, it just it's like a chain reaction. You know what I mean? So that's credit to Luke for doing that. Yeah, but then again, he actually brought in a lot of guys that were genuine good people. You know what I mean? He just, and he didn't let every single person in. You know what I mean? It was just
Still don't.
It was wanted to be part of the. What's that?
I said I still don't.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, exactly.
But you can't, because as soon as you start doing that, that's when your piece starts to get fucked with. That's when you're.
Look, and if I pay homage to sort of like this is what I'm saying. Like people, I think there's a lot of people that hide behind actually thinking that they get the business, and I've got nothing negative to say about anyone involved in the business and whatnot. I just think it's clear as day. Go and get yourself a proper education. And I started with the man up to my right with Rob. Rob trained me in his garage. I drove from Wollongong to Manly, which is the worst drive in history, by the way. But I drove up there every Saturday. He trained me on some just some mats in his garage, and I just listened to him. And then I got to a point, like I was lucky because I had a best mate in the business at the time. And he sort of like got me my first match. Wayne Pigford gave me my first match. Had no idea what I was doing. So I sat under the learning tree of my best mate at the time. Met Rob through him. Got me on IWA. Did 4 or 5, 6 maybe years of tours. Just soaked it up like a sponge. Was respectful the whole time. Got to create some really good friendships or acquaintance friendships and whatnot, and go through the journey of live doing all that. And like I just don't think it's hard. Like, be a sponge, learn, be respectful. Egos kill careers. So at the end of the day, I love wrestling and I love Australian wrestling. Thank you, darling. I'm just getting delivery. But like,
thanks,
honestly, like so for instance, like it's like egos kills careers, right? And it's like at the end of the day, we are all here, and if you're in it for the right reasons, which I'll get into that in a moment, but no one can do something on their own. It's a collective team effort. First of all, I know it's corny, but treat others the way you want to be treated. Sometimes is there some harsh calls that you need to do, and like rock and roll's my baby, my promotion. And it's like, but I'm not going to be an egotistical maniac and make people feel hurt or feel like crap because of their weaknesses and whatnot. And I just think that you surround yourself in life in general with the right people that are going to make you better. I want my weaknesses to show all the time, because then that's going to make them eventually, if I put the hard work and dedication in, it'll become my strength.
Yeah,
100%. And it goes down to wanting to, never be it's almost like the saying, never be the smartest person in the room. Always be looking at getting
100%.
knowledge and being respectful, taking on board and listening to what's
He
going on.
He doesn't have an ego. That's why. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the moment you just drop your ego, and even too, if somebody tells me something, I'll listen as well. You know what I mean? So that's the thing. There's no egos there, and that's the beauty about it. Once you lose that, it makes life very easy, especially when you're having fun.
And between Rob and Brett Brady under the learning tree, and my mate at the time, I'd learned quite good fundamentals, but then it got to a point where I needed to go above and beyond. So when I went overseas and went to the Dudley Boyz school and did 4 lots of 3 months under there, if Rob and Brady, and in particular, I'm talking about Rob here, is because Brady was sort of on his end, and Rob was around a lot more. But if I'm going there and then Bubba and Devon are teaching me the same fundamentals and dynamics and just respect for the business, then all of a sudden you go, geez, Rob and Brett Brady really knew what they were talking about, didn't they? Like I think I'd just been a good judge of surrounding yourself. And I'm going to blow smoke up your ass, Piers, but like, and then it was like, I don't do these podcasts, right? For two reasons. One, which I told you off before, do people really give a crap what I have to say? But second of all, you look at what you have put out there and the way you present it, and it's in a professional manner. And that's why when people were questioning your motive around having people on and profiting or whatever, it's like, why can't people peel it back and actually just see that you're creating a platform for people to either get out there, express, have a diverse conversation, and you're putting out a professional product which no one can be bothered to do, or they don't have the skills to do. And why should anyone? I just don't think there's room for hate. Like, you're passionate about something, you really enjoy it. Why don't people, if there's no ego attached to it, why does anyone have to attack you? Like, for instance, like we've had, we've had like bits and pieces where you see other people doing well. I want everyone to do well, because the more people that do well, if it's done right, the more the fans have variety, and et cetera, et cetera. So I just don't think there's need for, I just don't think there's need. Like, why can't treat others the way you want to be treated? So,
but you know what? That's great, and I think that's a great mindset to have. But I feel like, for the most part, when you are successful and when you are, doing well, there's always going to be people that want to try and tear you down. There's just people out there that aren't happy with themselves, that have some sort of issue. And yeah, I mean, like, you would have seen it in the wrestling business over the 15 years. Both of you guys, when you guys have had peaks in your careers, and people that you thought were your friends are really motherfucking you behind your back. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, jealousy can be a dirty fucking thing sometimes.
Do you know what I do when I think about that, or when I try to give my advice out to people? I think about and I think about and again, Rob and I, every time we have a beer or whatever, or when I'm maybe having a bit of self-doubt with either putting my idea, advice out there or whatever it is, I pull back to the fact of who's making money here in Australian wrestling. And the thing that people don't understand is wrestling is about drawing money. And again, this is said with absolutely no target to anybody at all. I want everyone to do well. But first of all, go get an education and get a proper education of someone that's done it, been there, and had success at it. And the second is, you got to pick between whether you're doing, and I'm all for whatever people want to get into wrestling for. If they want to get into wrestling to experience it because they've been a fan, maybe they don't want to be in WWE. That is totally fine. But leave the business better when you're either in it or when you're getting out of it. Then don't make it worse than it already is. And I just think that, like, I have no problem. Like, there's just too many people made up of it where they're living out their fantasy wrestling in front of 15 to 30 or 40 people, putting that they've drawn 400, and they think they're the Rock or Stone Cold out there. And I say that, like, and that's not targeted at anyone. I just think if self-reflection is one of the biggest things to be, like, successful in life and even happy and content. But if you can't pull it back on yourself, because I just think we all benefit when everyone succeeds, right?
Yeah, that's true. And I personally think the reason why, in your situation, what separates you from a lot of other people is you're being able to separate yourself from wrestler to promoter. You know what I mean? So a lot of people can't do that, where they're wrestler and promoter, and then they think, okay, it's a certain formula they need to use. You shut off and go, hang on, I'm promoter right now. Okay, I need all this done. So you think promotion-wise, you think advertising, you think drawing money. And then when actually showtime comes or your promos come, then you go wrestler. And then straight after you're done, probably even like after your match, boom, you're straight on to where the music is or the production is. It's like you're going and going, but you're able to. That's something a lot of people can't do. You know what I mean? And that's I think that's commendable, because it's very difficult to find somebody that understands the business as a promoter and a wrestler, and they're two completely different things. You know what I mean? I know for a fact I could never be a promoter, and I put my hands up, because I don't know how to do production well. I don't know how to promote well. I don't know where to advertise. You know what I mean? I'm not that wrestling is different. That's my thing.
Yeah.
But do both is extremely difficult.
Yeah.
100% on that one, man. Like, but you know what? Like, you've always said, Rob, like, you know, me and Rob probably speak a couple of times a week usually. And like, whenever we're talking about the business, he always puts you over in the fact is like Hunter gets the business as far as like when it comes to promoting, when it comes to booking, when it comes to drawing, Hunter really
he's lost money. He's never lost money. Like, you know, people lose money. I'll say this on behalf of people that people lose money in this business. And I'm actually, I get freaking, you know, I freak out because like you're losing like your rent money or your mortgage or you know, he cannot stand. He needs to, from his merchandise, he needs a profit from his sales, you know, from everything, you know, even selling, you know, sorbets, ice creams. No, we need to get money out of this. You know what I mean? Like fuck, okay, why don't we just sell that? I had the idea to give away, but he's got no, fuck that. We're going to actually sell these things. So
that's the thing. It's treating the business. It's treating the business like a business.
Professional wrestling, and
so
that's the word.
If I be honest, I think like I always wanted to do it since 5-year-old, and you know, blah blah blah. You know, saw Hulk and Warrior and Sergeant Slaughter Hulk, and was hooked. I always paid tribute to my cousin. We're on a rainy holiday down the south coast. He was from the country. And he's like, you got to see this wrestling. He was a few years older than me. Saw it, hooked. Mom, I'm going to do this, blah, blah, blah. You know, she takes us to the video store. You can get anything. You can't get wrestling things, right? My brother and I come back with 14 VHSs for the school holidays, blah, blah, blah. She gives into us. Then, you know, so then got cut a break and whatever and got involved in whatever capacity and it just snowballed. But I'm telling you, it isn't hard if like, and I know that I understand it and I know that I get it. And I know that I've been a sponge in regards to, you know, Rob for the wrestling, the fundamentals. If I want to be a good performer, if I want to do this, if I want to do that, go away, do the Team 3D, meet, you know, and you got to think of, well, I'm paying tribute to Bubba and Devon. There was the head trainer there, Dan Carr, who is he came up with the concept of American Gladiators. There's a doco out there on ESPN, what is it, 30/30 or whatever. Yep. Go check it out. Like, but this guy trains athletes, right? I went there and I was in good shape before I went over, but this guy made me an athlete. He made me I'm always going to buy in and I'm always going to bet on myself. They tried to murder you every single day there because they want to weed out what shouldn't be there and what not. And that school, when it was operating, was the best thing. The best place you'd go is they promoted it as like the Harvard of pro wrestling schools, and that's exactly what it was. And I'll forever be indebted for, yes, I paid a lot of money to go there, and I probably spent like over 50 grand, I reckon, like traveling back and forward because it's what I wanted. And was my goals the WWE and blah, blah, blah? Of course it was. But then it's okay. My whole identity of me as a person has been wrestling my whole life. But then the goalposts are okay to change when you learn that that's okay. But I've always wanted to make money from it, and I've always made money from it. And it's like, it's not that hard to do if you self-reflect, bet on yourself. You're happy to fail. Everyone's going to fail. Analyze it. And the biggest thing is so many people are just lazy and they don't want to do it. So like, for instance, I've had tours 4 hours away, 5 hours away. And in the 4 weeks leading up, I am down there, poster runs, deals, and again, not to give you all the secrets, but going down there, doing this, doing that, doing all right. Being resourceful when you go and, sell tickets, how are you going to recoup that information so that, like, if you're not continuously trying to gather information and store it and utilize it in ways that you can then bring that 100 people back, 200 people back, 300 people back, why are they going to come back? Are they going to come back when you've got terrible sound? And this is stuff that's happened to us. Your microphone doesn't work properly. It shits itself. Your sound system shits itself. You've got, they're waiting in line because the ticket system's failed. Like, how are you going to compensate to make that what I said at the start of the show, where you're going to make them suspend their belief system. Everyone's walking out happy, and you're going to give them the overall experience.
100%.
And if you think, and the laughable thing was, is people thought you could just go and put black and white posters around telegraph poles and you're going to get 500 walk in, which this will be me being completely honest, and it'll probably be a bit brutal. But back in the Attitude Era days, that's all they had to do on the work of how hot the
product was.
All the Attitude Era guys made it. And so everyone was so hot that every time they saw wrestling, and back at this stage, I'm a kid, right? So I'm seeing, and I'm seeing 500 people will line up a Blackdown Workers Club, and I'm going on, and I'm sitting there as a kid, and there were some really good performers. Don't get me wrong. There were some really talented cats watching it as a kid. But at that age of, I don't know, 13 to maybe it was even younger, I could work out who could work and who couldn't. And the whole thing is in that time, and I know there wasn't the technology that there was these days, but what are you going to do to capsulate the mass? I'm talking about massive shows, and I will pay a tribute to Mark Mercedes, because only other guy up until I know, and I'm not generalizing the whole of the scene because I'm not in touch with all of it, but I'm talking about New South Wales, right?
Sure.
But the guy that's been on top the longest that has drawn money besides myself, and I'll put that out there, right, for the longevity of it. I think what Bonza and the PWA crew are doing now is fantastic, making money. They're the system of their school and whatever, fantastic. And I've got a lot of time for Stephen and whatnot and the rest of the crew. But Mark is a promoter, and Mark knows how to get the deal done. And if you're looking at someone that's paved the way, and you got to show respect to that, because we wouldn't be here if any of that. And that's what I think, another thing that people forget. It's like Phil coming on your podcast, and everyone loves to bag Phil, right? I've got nothing but love and respect for Phil. I accept Phil for who he is and how he is. But when I started out, Phil was very, very good to me. Very, very good to me. I think I wrestled him probably one North Coast tour every single night. And it showed me how to work a different style, right? A completely different style. But my goal was to make Phil more loved and to make me more hated. 100%. And because Phil was so over, I was just like, this is a walk in the park.
Yeah. But you know what? I speak to some of the younger guys that I work with on shows, and when they ask, when we talk about Phil Picasso, I say to them, I go, you don't know, Phil Picasso back in 2001 and before that was man, he had some Bruiser Brody type vibes at some stages, bro. He used to fuck, people in the audience were legit fucking terrified of that guy. And I remember you know what I mean? And that was, you know what I mean?
When he was upright, when his body was able to hold himself up.
You just got to remember as well, right? And I know I was just probably long-winded and whatever. Everybody contributes in their own different way. There is no mold of what it needs to be. I am a massive advocate of characters, and coming into the business and going into Mark's IWA tour, and this is just or just IWA in general, straight away I think of Birdman. Everywhere you go, he, he missed a couple of tours and whatnot, whatever happened there. But you would go to every venue, and your line, there's lines and whatever, and people are like, where's Birdman? Where's Birdman? Where's Birdman? Where's Birdman? If people are asking that, tell me the guy's not over.
Well, exactly.
And, I was having this conversation the other day, and I said, Phil is the Iron Sheik of Australian wrestling. And I'm not saying in gimmick, I'm saying as far as just the enigma of the man, you know what I mean?
The Boogie Woogie Man. Do you remember him? Jimmy Mullen. Yeah, man. All he used to do was come out and clap. Wrestling ability was so limited, but man, that crowd was just so into him. You know what I mean? He drew money. You know what I mean? He was popular. It's they didn't give a shit whether he could do a wrist lock or whatnot. You know what I mean? They just cared that he was just so entertaining. And that's what Phil brings. You know what I mean? if it was just straight wrestling, you stick to the amateurs. But
that's
it's
what everyone should learn. That's what they need to bring is the entertainment value.
Oh yeah, 100%, 100%.
I definitely agree. Let me ask you this though, Hunter. So running Wollongong for so long and really making Wollongong, rock and rolls, as I said before, rock and rolls Wollongong's promotion. What were your thoughts when other promoters came in and tried to tap into that market? And like other promoters have come in there, they've tried to run shows down there. What was the overall feeling when you sort of saw that? Did you feel like, oh shit, these people are coming like to my backyard? Or were you like, whatever, like I feel confident enough in my product?
Well, I definitely felt confident enough in my product, and I just know that with anything, again, buying in, being confident, and dotting your I's and crossing your T's, the cream will rise to the top. As Rob said, I think you just got to see it from perspective of who's going to make money and who's going to lose money, and eventually, if you're losing money, you're going to have to stop doing it, or you're going to get so down and depressed about it. Luckily, I don't know that feeling, but I. But like when All Star came and did it, like they did what it did, and like there was some, things that weren't desirable that happened on their show and whatnot, and people would feed it back to me, and I didn't worry. I saw that they're drawing at Padstow right now. I take my hat off to them because, as I said before, I don't care who it is. If they're drawing money, they've got the tick of approval in my book. They're doing something right. I don't like to have heat with anyone. If I don't, it's the same as like if I think someone doesn't fit my show, I don't personally have anything wrong against them. I just don't fit, they don't fit the mold of our show. But people should be able to go anywhere and wherever they want to be. No one owns anything. If you're confident in your abilities, then it is what it is. And I think if you actually like reflect back and like think about when the territories were on, I know people had territories, but then, times change. Vince came in, took over and bet on himself, and look what happened there. And I'm not comparing that at all. I'm just saying that, like, if people want to have a, throw at the stumps and have a go, good luck to them. But education, respect, self-reflection, and the biggest thing is it's called professional wrestling, and professional is the first word. So this is where everyone goes wrong, is they don't play the professional card before the wrestling. So everyone wants to bag each other out and this, that, and the other, and wants to have a shot at someone. But if you drag people down, you actually don't get, and we were touching on it before, people do that because they're unhappy with themselves and whatever and have a pot shot. But go and promote wherever you want. If you can draw a crowd, I literally take my hat off to you and good on you. Draw money, make money, go for it.
Yeah.
Because even if they're trying to like I heard, on previous things about like people ringing up venues and doing this, like, come on. And the whole thing is you shouldn't even be scared of that, because if you've got such a professional track record and you've got nurtured relationships with venues and clubs and whatever, if they're going to ring me, and I've never, knock on wood, but I've never had issues here, there, or anywhere. So it's like, it's about the sort of track record that you have as well. So
100% the relationships.
And in saying that, and I know I'm being a bit long-winded, but be careful. Like lesson one, be careful who you book. What I said, if I think someone doesn't fit my family-friendly entertainment, then I'm not going to take the risk, am I? And that's not to say that little things haven't happened over the years where, like the girls that wrestled on, the lovely ladies that wrestled on my show on the weekend, I know that they come from PWA and they've been educated correctly. But if I don't do my due diligence of going over, and I said to them, ladies, I know I don't have to have this conversation, but this is what our standards at the show. And I'm only saying this, even though you know everything, so that I'm dotting my I's, crossing my T's to make sure that there's no negligence, so that there's no miscommunication, and that everyone has a great night and gets home safely and does their job.
What was it that you wanted to explain to them about, that it was a family-friendly show, or?
Just like hitting your marker points, like no swearing, no going into the crowd, no like I've just seen things over the years, no calling fans like derogatory names. don't spit into the crowd, don't spit water into the crowd. Like the list could go on and on. They're common sense things, Piers, but sometimes people don't have common sense. I know those girls did, but then it's like when you go into a meeting and everyone goes through the agenda. If you don't get people to sign off on that on the meeting minutes, oh no, we didn't talk about that. Okay.
Yeah.
So now I'm in a predicament where they're coming from me. Something happens on the show, they ain't coming for you, they're coming for me.
Yeah.
So, and again, what's the first word of the two words? Professional.
Yeah.
And then you build that relationship with people too. Then all of a sudden, he's taking the time out to talk to me.
And to Hunter's defense as well, he actually does come up to me and a lot of the other experienced guys and tells us the exact same thing at times. You know what I mean? Boys, no swearing, watch what you say, can't do this, there's been too much of this, can we not do this at all? You know what I mean? So it's across the board. It's not just it's not singling out anybody. So
no,
and it's because it's a business. It's a business at the end of the day.
That's right. 100%. But speaking of that, you were talking about how you went to the Dudley School. What were the promotions that you actually worked for when you went over to the States?
So in my time as in the Dudleys, I didn't actually wrestle too many promotions. I think there was Quest Pro Wrestling, which was like an offshoot of the school. There was some students that did it. I wrestled I think 2, maybe 3 shows there. Excuse me. Then I wrestled for another promoter, Ryan. I think it was just he did like half a dozen shows, lost money, kaput. And then it wasn't until I came back and was lucky enough to run into DDP, is that he booked my first tour for me. That's the kind of guy he is. He rang up and he booked it in the sense that he reached out to all the promoters and said, would you do me a favor and would you book this kid and give him a go? So that's what happened there. And then so I went to I think I called it the Freebird Takes Flight tour. Again, promoting it. And this is a cool little thing. When I went to the Dudley Boyz each time, I fundraised through the rock and roll community to sponsor me to go over, so I didn't have to pay for my flights, so I didn't have to do this, and I promoted myself. And I came in and I had a shirt and it said "Dream it, believe it, be it." It was sort of like my motto, still is. And then on the back it had every sponsor from Subway to my physio that put me together every time that I got hurt, and etc. etc. And I came in and Bubba said, "What's that shirt?" And I told him, and I said, I want to treat myself as as a serious thing. I treat this as a business. And he came out in front of the whole thing and he said, in not so many words, but he's like, all you such and such as, you need to listen up. This kid is flown in from Australia, show him your shirt and blah, blah, blah. And then I think he saw that I, took it seriously, you know what I mean? And so it's just presenting yourself every single time. So then I went and worked a promotion in Chicago on the next tour. Actually, I messaged Joseph out of PCW, that runs a fantastic promotion. I only ever wrestled there once, and it'd probably something that I wouldn't mind sort of dipping my feet in the water again. I messaged him. I asked him for an opportunity. He probably saw the gimmick. I'm not too sure. You'd have to ask him. He booked me on his show. I was in a tag match with. It was a 6-man tag. I wrestled him directly. And he was part of, I've gone blank. Is it Joseph Fatu that's a pretty big name now? Is that what it is?
Yeah, Joseph Fatu. Yeah, he's big.
So he was there. They were called Contra, I think it was. They might have been called something else. But anyway, so I wrestled them. I went there. Again, soaking up the knowledge. I went there. I'd never seen a show so professional, so well ran. Everyone was there from RVD to Sammy Callahan to there was just a list of other people names there. They drew like 1,000 people in this room, and it was the most ridiculous. It was the most ridiculous atmosphere ever. They put me on a merch table at the start of the show. I sold $850 US worth of merch before the show had started. No one had even met me. Right. then I went backstage and he paid me. Like this kid that he didn't know, he paid me like he paid me $100 US. Didn't say I didn't deserve it, but he just gave me an opportunity. And then I got to managing them was Kevin Sullivan, and so that was in the match, and then like it broke down into this schmoz, and like it got a bit violent, whatever. I took a fireball to the face, and it took me, singed me hair and whatever. But sat with Kevin again, picked his brain. What can I do better? What can I do? Blah blah. He was nice enough to give me his number at the time, and just it's just about putting yourself out there. Yeah. I want people to pull me down in a positive way, and that's the way you're going to learn. So I went there, and then I just met up with then I met the Von Erich boys backstage at Mania when Michael was getting inducted, and then we started wrestling for a promotion in Dallas, which has been the best highlight and experience of my life, because those fans in Texas are the absolute best. And you talk about making and drawing money. Is like the merchandise sales there are like they're the most beautiful people. I talk to them constantly every single day out here about wanting me to, about when we're coming back, and I got to be like a 6-man tag with the two Kevin's boys, Ross and Marshall, and it's just it's pretty cool.
Ross and Marshall, those guys have a very good look. Like they are jacked, those two dudes. Like they definitely have the Von Erich look about them. Yeah.
And you wouldn't find nicer, genuine, like they're my brothers. You ask them, like we'll try to get them on here one day so you can pick their brain and stuff. But like
that'd be great.
Between Kevin and the whole family and whatnot, of just their like their open arms welcoming and whatnot, and like I'm trying to get them to come out here actually this year, but they've just moved from, they're on Kauai in Hawaii, and they've just got a ranch in Texas. They've finally gone back after so many years to raise all their families, because they all live together, which is pretty cool.
Oh, that's dope. That's really
like all the siblings and that. So no, it's but man, I would love to get you guys down to Texas at some stage, because Rob and I talk about it all the time.
Let's go.
Let's go.
And you talk about people.
I'm ready to go.
People that love it. Like, and the whole thing is, like, if you think of the history and the people that paved the way for us, like, I don't know if you know Iceman. I'm talking about WCCW. Like, I've been, like, he announced me when I went out there and blah, blah. And they knew the mystique of it all, and they thought it could be true that it was, like, I'll send you a link. It's just the best thing. And just wanting to, like, him teaching me, et cetera, et cetera. It's just like a real special thing, and the food's unbelievable.
Oh, I can imagine that Texas
smokehouses and
So when you went to WrestleMania for the induction of Michael Hayes, how did that happen, and how did you end up there?
So the guy that wrote the Bad Street song, Jimmy Papa, big shout out to Jimmy, Uncle Jimmy. We got in contact with each other. And I did a part of, he made I think it was like 20th anniversary of Bad Street, or 20 or something like that. Can't remember now, but he asked me to do a skit on it. So he released the Bad Street DVD, and then they had like a bonus segment that they wanted me on. And then when I went to Texas for Mania, and he picked me up, looked after me, went back, and I tried on all of Michael's jackets. Like he has all this stuff in prestige condition, like just looked after, and he gave me permission to use the Bad Street song. So like he lets me use that wherever I go, where WWE pay for it. So but you know what I mean? Like he's just, like, again, it'd be different if he was, not a very good person. But you just have the luck of, being positive and drawing in, positive people. So,
Yeah, man.
So that's how I got. Sorry. So he was two things. He was going there because obviously how close he is with Michael, and then he just had told Michael he was bringing me. I was a +1 or whatever, and yeah, that just went to that. So it went from flying over with a group of Keaton and my trainees, giving them an experience to try to, give them that motivation of long, tunnel vision. This is what you could achieve if you really apply yourself. To getting a call up and saying, "Go get a tux. We're going tomorrow night." Blah blah blah. So
that's surreal.
And you sat next to the family.
I sat next to Michael's brother and his family, who just treated me with whatever, and just treated me great. And then Connie Gordy was there, Terry Gordy's wife, and she is just the biggest sweetheart as well. And they all just was like they were like, "Has Michael had a kid or something? Who the fuck's this guy sitting here?" Blah blah. And I was just talking, and I was just like, "Yeah, that's me. I'm the bastard son." And then everyone started taking photos with me in the middle of it, and they're just like, Brooklyn Brawlin was looking at me because he was like seating people, and he's like, "Going, what's going on here?" And which I ended up talking to him and whatnot again, sponging.
Yeah.
And it was just a really cool connection making, you know what I mean? And if you can, there's there's good and bad people everywhere, but if you feel out the good ones like yourself, Rob, and it flows on, and it's just like, you can do whatever you want,
No, 100%. It's it's interesting, because this conversation, it always comes back to having good people around you. And it really feels like that's what you've done in order to sort of build what you've built with rock and roll, but also what you kind of instill in the guys that you have trained over the years. Because like I said, seeing those guys and how they are, man, I can't put over enough how, bro, I always am happy to work a show with any of your guys, because I know it's always I know they're good people with good values, and and always gonna up for a bit of a laugh and a fun chat as well. So
100%.
you know what I mean? Like, it's
you know what it comes down to though, is I represent Bubba and Devon still to this very, very day in anything I do in pro wrestling, and the amount of respect I just have for them in general. And again, paid thousands of dollars to go and do it, and it was the best money I ever spent. And I think I actually cut out with the Dan Carr thing. So Dan Carr, American gladiator inventor and whatnot, made me the athlete. But again, he knew what he needed to do and how to treat me to get me to that next level. But you think it didn't make me respect the business of everyone that's paved the way, that would have got killed when they were old school and there was like weeding people out. Every single day I present myself in professional wrestling, I'm representing Bubba and Devon, right? Rob, Bubba and Devon, and now everyone that I have trained or given my blessing to, they represent me. If they disrespect someone, they disrespect me. I've disrespected them, disrespected Rob. It's a simple process.
Yeah, 100%. And that's where I think that in the wrestling world, people take that relationship with their trainer. It's almost like a father's relationship in so much, when for a lot of people I've spoken to, like a lot of the old school guys we hear that were trained by Johnny Rods, for example. Like, you talk to guys that were trained by Johnny, and it's like they all have that same sort of sentiment. They all have that same respect for the business. And like, even Angel, who was a friend of mine, who is a friend of mine who was trained by Johnny, he said to me, he goes, "You look back over the history of the guys that trained at Gleason's, he's like, how many people had drug problems or alcohol problems or anything like that?" He's like, because Johnny wouldn't tolerate that. He'd say to you, you can go have your beer, your whiskey, your steak at the end of the night. That never killed nobody.
Yeah.
Don't worry about the other shit. If you get hurt, do what you need to do to get better. Don't take drugs. Don't do that shit. And handle yourself like this. Yeah. And that's why, like he said, it's like they all were very respectful, very clean. And I think there was only like maybe one or two people that had problems with that sort of stuff.
As you said, it comes from the top down. If I'm out the back and I'm drinking before I go out to wrestle, or someone sees me, smoking a joint or doing whatever, which you'd never see. But you know what I mean? Like it's from the top down. You nailed it earlier on. Like that's what it is.
It's how it works. It's not just a wrestling business. It's actually in life. You know what I mean? He treats it like it's a life lesson rather than a wrestling experience. You know what I mean? It's the same thing. You treat people with respect. You know, it rubs off in a good way. So it's how I think you should live. It's a good thing.
And the satisfaction, like, because I like if you, and I'm not talking myself down, but like I really haven't like accomplished much in wrestling, right? Like that's my total thing. Like if you base it on the going from here to WWE and whatever, but if then you go, don't be so hard on yourself and whatnot. But I've been like, am I traveling to Texas, and that is certainly not over. And I know that there's like money to be made over there at the same time as I'm blessed to be surrounded by ridiculously the best fans that there are. And then you peel it back again to the Australian thing and the scene, and it's like, well, like let's count on one hand how many people are making money here. And it's said with like I just love wrestling. I absolutely love it. Like it is my sort of like is my time sort of, I don't think it's winding down, but it's probably, as I said, the goalposts have changed. Yeah. But it's like I get really excited with ideas like, you know, when you're laying in bed, like, I mean, not everyone does it, but you're laying in bed and you get an idea. Like Rob was talking about trying to capitalize on everything, like with the money and stuff, right? And it's like I come up with gimmick ideas. So this shirt is an old run of a shirt. I have the gloves. Michael had the gloves, right? On my gloves, they have Bad Street written. You can sell them like little cool things. We had Ryback out, and at the Wollongong show, we drew 800 people, and our outside Ryback on. I swear on my family, whatever. I outside Ryback. There's no gimmick. There's no ego attached to that. That is an accomplishment for me that I made more money than the international on the night. He was nothing but praise for the guy. He was excellent. Put on ridiculous quality matches as well. But it's like if you're making a true connection with the audience, then in return you should be. I always see like Rob saying the promoter secrets, whatever. If you've got 200 people there, why can't you make $1 off every person? I'd be trying to make $5 off every person. That's how ambitious I am. You know what I mean? And it's like just those little things goes back and makes me feel like I'm doing the right thing, that I'm making money, and that, like I finished my whole, when I built a house, my lovely wife, who's been my biggest supporter and support every single time, she's like, oh, you're still doing it. We got family, all right? And I was like, when we bought our house, I went and finished my whole house on rock and roll wrestling money, mate. Cost me nothing. And and this is a proud moment. Rob's laughing because we've spoken about this many times. Yeah. But it's like, and I just, over that, rock and roll wrestling, over that, you know what I mean? And just like stuff like that, like that's a really cool thing to do. And I want everyone to experience that. I know that like wrestling is like a funnel. And like, so there's all these people trying to get in, but down the bottom, there's only so many that can get down the bottom, you know what I mean? And it's like, there's a few people doing it right. And I just think that everyone's got their own vision to how it should be ran and how it should happen. I think everyone should be respectful of how everyone wants to run it.
Yeah.
And I think if you're not getting, and I'm probably pumping out advice here, but if you're not getting, if you're wrestling for me and you're not going anywhere, or you don't feel like it, and you come to me and you pitch ideas and I don't take them on board, or you could be another promotion, then you need to reevaluate where you can be accepted, nurtured, and, continue on your journey. And if you're feeling like stagnant, like I wrestled them IWA tours back to back, and then I just went to Rob and I said, I need to go somewhere because I'm not learning anything. And if you don't, you just got to keep it turning. He's like, you need to go. And I'm like, I'm going to go and shop around or whatever, but you just got to be committing to the cause. That's all it is.
Yeah. I mean, you got to, I think you've got to really want it. And I feel like the people that invest in themselves and like go to places like overseas or America for like extended periods of time and go train with like reputable people that have been there, done that, been at the highest, peak. you know, and when you train from that, like you're getting advice from people that are, I mean, you're learning to drive a Ferrari by people that drive a Ferrari, not by people that drive a Honda Civic.
Yeah.
And you know what I mean? Like that's probably the like one to put it, you know what I mean?
Going overseas is the best thing. You watch the quality of your performance, your mentality just go from here to here, you know, and that's what I tell everybody. You got to go overseas. You got to experience
and then what are you willing to sacrifice? So you're like, and I think there's a couple of my trainees that this probably goes to, and like I really love them all. But it's like, are you worried about your $60,000 job that like and don't get me wrong, security is important, right? But it's
Absolutely.
like, are you worried about that? Or what I did was I banked up all my holidays every single year, and then I just took those 4 weeks, and then I had another 8 weeks that was unpaid leave. So I'm not telling anyone how to go and do it, but like it just becomes to the sacrifice. And that's what I was saying before. I got into the wrestling because I loved it, but the rest, my shitty job income was supplemented by my hard work with the wrestling that would top up that wage sort of thing.
Yeah.
But I was happy to reinvest in me. I've never bought, you know, probably going too technical now, but I'm not into buying crap. You know what I mean? Like I'd rather invest it in myself because then the money comes later and the success comes later. So I don't know. I wish everyone the absolute best, and everyone's got to run their own journey. But if you're feeling stagnant and whatever, get out. But going back to the job thing, it's just like, go bet on yourself. That 60,000 euro job is going to be there till you're 70 years old. You know what I mean? And you only get one chance. And you know, it is what it is.
Well,
you
don't want to be turned around at 40 years or 50 years of age going, man, you know what? What if?
That's what I based my whole life on, to be honest.
Yeah.
I don't want that.
Yeah.
I want to turn, and now see how the goalposts have changed. So it's like now, like I believe that I will return to Texas and opportunities will present themselves. But now I want Rob to come with me. You know what I mean? Because it's like you got that bond that you've had for years, and then you know, and then you got Keaton come up, this person come up, that one, and you just want to like, well, why don't you want to try to elevate those other people and give them experience? Because the whole thing is, and that's with the accomplishment thing. I mean, one thing that I could probably give myself an attaboy for is I've gone over, I've made connections, and I've wrestled over there, and I've actually not lost money when I've been over there as well. So I've made money over there, which is a pretty cool achievement. But how does a guy from scratch start that? You know what I mean? That is a very difficult thing. And you don't get nice people like Joseph from PCW that are just going to book anyone. And it's like, but you got to get your foot in the door. And that's why, like, Dallas, DDP, incredible human. He doesn't know me from a bar of soap. You know, we hit it off found me on YouTube and we hit it off and whatnot. And been very lucky. But, like, that doesn't happen if I don't, apply myself and give a shit about myself. So.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, you've got to put the work in. I feel like when people are prepared to put the work in, they're prepared to invest the time and money into themselves, good things happen. But it's like, if you don't put the time in, you don't put money into something, you're really just sort of going, oh yeah, I'll throw the dice and maybe I'll get a 7 here.
Yeah. Well, he paid for an education, you know what I mean? And that's what a lot of people don't do.
But is it any different to going to uni and then getting a higher paid job?
Exactly.
I've just got the tools of the trade to be able to apply it now. And Rob will tell you, Rob and the crew, and I've got an incredible crew around now, right? Like I've got the Bachelor helping me out with promoting the show and organising the day-to-day stuff, which me running another business takes off a huge amount of pressure. Right, show day, I'm so pumped because I get it in. You get to have that, you know what it's like when you get up and you have that creative input to the show, whether it's your character, the whole show, whatever. But for the first 10, I want to say for the first 7 to 10 years, all my money went back into reinvesting it, like reinvesting in anything. Like I've had several different rings, and then just before COVID hit, I bought a brand new from Monster Cages or whatever. Bought a brand new ring and bought a cage and whatever. But I bought a brand new ring because of the time factor of what it took to get these and the rings that I've had that were made here in Australia and rah. The ring I got now has no nuts and bolts. It goes up in half an hour, comes down in half an hour. And did it cost me $20-something thousand to get out here? Sure. But what is my time worth as an individual to be packing up and setting down? Am I going to be there setting up a ring for 6 hours on either end of packing up? Or am I going to cut it down to 30 and you've spent 20, but in return, your time back at home with your family is this, and you've still made this amount of money and you're in and out. You know what I mean?
100%. Sooner
Just
or later.
apply yourself. That's all it is.
Apply yourself and look at it logistically as well.
Yeah, because your surroundings. So does all the boys and girls want to be around doing ring crew for all hours of the night and just going, or do you reinvest? They can see that I'm investing in them, like with the training, with the gimmicks, with the whatever. But in return, can they, they see, like, do you think they don't appreciate bumping in a brand new ring that's sort of like state of the art for what's out there?
100%.
Or an old shitty ring that's been touring Australia for 30 years.
Exactly.
Like, just respect the people you're with.
I wrestled with Mark Mercedes for like 15 or so years. I decided to stop a little bit for a year or so, and he buys a brand new ring. I'm like, fuck, you're kidding. So we wrestled in the same shitty ring for 15 years. Like, oh, man.
What ring do you think I had after that?
Exactly. You bought it.
Let's break that down. I had a fully functional ring, right? But it was made of, Piers, this ring is the heaviest thing that you've ever seen in your life, right? It was made of solid steel. Every single beam, there was 20 beams, then a double beam in the middle that was like you're killing yourself, 2-3 people lifting it up. So then I bought Mark's off him, and Mark, again, looked after me, whatever. The reason I bought Mark's is because it had the 2 height adjustments of low and high, and I couldn't get into some venues that wanted me. So am I going to go and pay $5,000 for a ring or whatever he charged me? Don't quote me for that. It could have been, no, it was probably more, scumbag. No, he looked after me and everything. But so I go and spend another $5,000 when I got a proper ring that works. But that ring then made me what? By being able to go into low venues, high venues, blah, blah, blah. So was it a pain in the bum to set up all the time? Sure. But look how much money it drew Mark over the years, and then look how much money it drew me. And then it got to a stage where it's like, okay, I've been really good, sensible with my money. Now I can buy one that goes up and down in no time, and I got the posts built in to have both heights. So I accumulated the other problem, and it just snowballs. People just need to invest in themselves. That's all it is.
What about the guy that broke his back in that fucking ring for 20 years? Doesn't he get any money too?
Who's this?
What about the guy that broke his back in that fucking ring for 20 years? Doesn't he get any money too?
I don't know if Mark. I still have Mark's number for you to chase up for that. I'm not too sure.
I'll put you in a group message.
Which, can I just say something as well? I know I could call Mark tomorrow if I wanted to. When Mark popped on Phil's podcast, that made my week, mate. Absolutely, mate. The ice cream story past the truck, I was.
He was licking it.
It filled me with so much joy. And this is
the
storytelling part of Mark is the description that it was a very hot day and that he needed an ice cream.
It was so true. It was a fucking stinking hot day. It breaks down and this fucking hot burns his chest. And he's not wearing a shirt. You know what I mean? It's blistered. His chest is Mark's driving past, waving.
I told you. He would have been late for golf. He would have had to tee off.
It's like, he just thought that he just assumed Phil's just pulled over. It feels like going like this, like
But you know what? To his defense, like Birdman's feels pretty animated at the best of times, so he probably didn't think there was anything wrong.
Never heard the end of it, mate. Never.
I need to give a shout out to Sarge as well, because Sarge was very pivotal in taking the time out for me. Brady, Rob, Sarge taking care of me. It's very good. Sarge gave my first match for IWA in what's the town out in it's out Newcastle Way. Starts with a W, I believe. They had like 550 people. Like, imagine coming into Australian wrestling. And this is past
Musselbrook? No,
I think it was a W. I can't remember. I'm normally good with that sort of stuff. But anyway, we went out there and this is an attitude era. But this is Mark finding his niche of a hot spot. Yeah. And they were having I think it was so I was green as grass. They were having a tournament so Mark could save money on booking, so that they went through and did whatever, right? But so I had Sarge opening match, and I had no idea I'd had a tag match before or whatever, and that guy just kept talking about like guys that just understood from sitting under the tree of Rob and probably Mark as well, I would imagine, but just caught everything. I remember hitting a big crossbody off the top, like as the end of me comeback. Like the crowd thought I had it, and then he just like reversed something, give it to me, got booed out of the place after he won.
Yeah.
Just looked after me, absolute champion. On tours, we'd have people would laugh at us for stopping and having cups of tea on the side of the road. But legend of a bloke. Love you, Sarge.
He's awesome. I love Sarge. He's fantastic. But yeah, he's one of a kind, that's for sure. You know what I mean? Good bunch of guys, man. It's real good.
It's funny that podcast that I did with Phil, when Mark rang me, it was like it was the biggest surprise because it was like I very rarely get like I have my phone on silent. Usually I didn't have it on silent at that time, especially when I'm doing podcasting. I have it like muted, and I'm like, what the fuck? And I was like, oh. And I checked it. I thought it would have been Rob, to be honest. So I thought, oh, Rob's calling in for this. And then I saw Mark, and I'm like, I have to put him on it. I have to put him into the podcast. And he that was, well, I feel like that moment was a pretty cool moment. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I think for the Australian wrestling fans to sort of have Mark call in during that moment, because like they hadn't spoken in like 10 years or some shit.
And that's what it's about too, right? You just connected people.
Yeah.
Where, let's be honest, they probably both didn't know where they stood with each other. But then you can, and this is what I'm talking about, Phil. Phil is a very genuine and good person. And straight away, like, even though he'll ramble on and, like say everything about, Mark and the stuff that happened, but he loves Mark. Do you hear him at the end of it? I just want to know we're all cool, man. I love you, Mark, rah, rah. Like if you break it down, and you probably get like, in these days, you probably can't call it a brotherhood, but do you know what I mean? Like that's what it's about.
That's what it was. That's
how
what
many
it was.
opportunities? How many opportunities has Mark given Phil to be on the stage? And then in return, what has Phil done for Mark when I gave you the examples of people asking?
Exactly. I've seen Phil get fired like 3 or 4 times on a tour. Like, you know what I mean? He got fired almost every single show. He refused to be fired. Yeah, you know what I mean?
He disappeared for 45 minutes and then
he'll argue with Mark, run away, fuck you, I'm going home. Then 2 seconds later, wander back into the shot, start arguing with him again. Oh, fuck you, I'm going home. Then back again.
You missed the part.
Mark's just looking at you
arguing with him, disappeared for 45 minutes. Next minute, he's turning up and he's lacing his boots and he's already quit. So I didn't know what was going on.
What are you doing?
Love him to death.
Oh shit!
Like, you know what? I got a lot of love for Phil, man. Like, he's just, as I said, bro. He's an enigma to himself, bro. Like, he's just, just a fun dude to be around, and just the character of this wonderful world we call professional wrestling.
Yeah, he goes 100 miles an hour. He didn't get the memo. You start off slow and you end up he's straight away.
I remember on my tour, I put him in we'll work and whatever, and you do all his stuff. I know I was like trying to think, like, and again, green on my first tour, but I'm trying to, like, with the knowledge from Rob and whoever, I'm like, I probably even went and asked Rob, but I was like, I started working his legs, and he's got the longest legs in friggin' history, right? So I end up putting like, and I'm taking myself real serious, and blah blah.
Yeah, of course.
But also trying to put him over deluxe. And I was just like, I put the figure 4 leg lock on him, and this was like, I know he does it quite regularly now, but he was like, "Oh God, Jesus Christ, help me!" He sits up, does the sign of the cross, and he's praying and saying a full-on vigil in his figure 4 leg lock. And I remember not getting it. I remember being so mad that he wasn't selling my figure 4, you know what I mean? And so I start like bashing him on his arthritic knees. But like, you reflect on it, but the crowd was like, the comedic relief he was giving the people, it was perfect.
Do you know that? Well, I'll tell you a quick funny one, right? So I did a show with him, and we had like Tommy Hellfire from Melbourne on the show, and this was just after Tommy was on Maths, and so he had like pretty much most of the guys that were on his seasons of Maths were sitting front row, and like at the end of the show, like we cleared all the fans out, and everyone's just standing there, and like Phil just looks at these Maths guys and goes, "Come on, you fucking reality guys, just give me a chop, mate." And he puts his arms over there, and they all come up and chop him, and he goes, "Oh, I'm sorry, I thought we had the husbands here. Obviously, we had the wives," and he's just. and I'm just sitting there just laughing. He's going, "Hey, ring announcer, mate. Piers, come here, mate. You have a crack, son."
And Piers, out of that group from the Maths or whatever it was, right? Who do you reckon they remember from the show that night?
Big Phil, baby.
Exactly right.
100%.
Yeah.
I think Phil's last show, or one of the last shows we did for him. You know, one thing that got a fucking huge reaction was the show ended. Phil took the pin. You know, 1, 2, 3. And then he just pops up, sits up like the Undertaker, and he goes, "That's all, folks."
Hey, my very first show that I promoted, I promoted, you were on that show, Rob. It was at Dapto Ribbonwood Centre, and I think the first 2 people that were booked were you and Phil.
Oh,
and just because like wherever he went, people knew him.
He just
wherever he went, didn't matter where. And they would have remembered him from him at the Yellow Wool Shed. They would have remembered him from him at the Yellow Wool Shed in the late 90s, right?
Oh,
this is what I'm saying. It's just I've got posters. I'll find him. He's the main attraction on the poster.
Yeah, and that's the thing. He was the separation between the rest of us. Like I said, his wrestling wasn't his selling point. It was his character. It was his odd behavior. He was just so fucking different, and he still is. You know, and we're talking about him now, so he's obviously doing.
But this is what I'm saying is that if people peel it back, they can actually, being that sponge, you can actually learn a lesson of what is important, and that is that your character is very important in the show.
Oh, yeah.
He makes connections with people.
100%.
Well, I mean, look at it like the Bushwhackers. You know what I mean? Before they went to WWF and they were the sheep herders, they were like one of the most brutal tag teams in the history of the business. Great workers, went to WWE or WWF at the time. Name me one match that was a classic over there that they did.
Yeah.
And
you
remember them being there, right?
I'll even bring your story full circle. In kindergarten at St. John's in Dapto here, me and my best mate would walk around the playground at lunchtime doing this. Connected with a couple of 6-year-olds in Australia.
Yeah, exactly.
And then we battery ram people in the playground. That's just all it.
Yeah, I mean that's just but you know what I mean, like those are the things that people connect with that are memorable. It's like sometimes, and this isn't a diss on this person, but like Dean Malenko, great wrestler. Can you tell me one moment that he had in the business?
Mm-hmm.
And that's not a diss. I love his work, but like as far as entertainment and being a character in this world, like you know what I mean, like there's people that can do really good stuff in a ring and in a match, and then there's people that can really grab the attention of the audience and be remembered.
Yeah.
Well, there's a reason why the Hulk was the man. You know what I mean? There was a reason behind it. He wasn't technically sound, but he just had it. You know, and he had something different that not everyone had. So, you know,
biggest draws in pro wrestling can obviously talk, which is the biggest thing. But just go back and look at the biggest draws, and Hulk's obviously, you know, at the top of the list, or with probably a couple of others. But I always say whenever I start training people and whatnot, and they, you know, get a certain part of it down, they're up to a certain beginner's stage, whatever, you got to get them talking straight away. If you let them hide in their shell, they've got nothing. And I'm just like straight away, like the biggest draws in professional wrestling have catchphrases, right? Like, why don't people on the Australian scene have catchphrases? And I know some people do, you know what I mean? I have a book of so many things. There's things that I haven't even used yet that I thought I would use if I got to a certain point, which I probably should have just used. But look at The Rock. The Rock, you could write a list of 50,000 different things. Know your role, shut your mouth. If you smell what The Rock is cooking, and there are millions and millions. And if you go across that and you go, you can't see me to, and that's the bottom line. What? Go through all of them. It's not a coincidence, and it's not rocket science. But they've got a character, and they can make you, they can make you tune in and dial in, and you're connected on their wavelength. That's why that is right there. Do you need to be a technician in the ring? 200%. You need to know what you're doing in there. But is equally important being able to have a character that connects with people, and you need to be able to pick up a microphone. Mark Mercedes, on his tour that I wrestled Phil with, I think it was, they left the ref shirt in the truck with the title belt, and they needed a stall because it was downstairs, and he hands me a microphone and tells me to go out and talk. It's my first tour. I've never spoken on the microphone in wrestling at all. Yeah. So I was like, and I wish it was on film just to show how cringeworthy it was. But after that day, it was like, I need to get better at this. That was horrendous, you know. And it's just like, what are you going to do to commit to finding? Because half of these guys out there don't know who they are, and they're not even anything. So if you don't know who you are, like right now, and it took me quite a while to do it, but what Rob's saying with managing the music, managing the running of the show, whatever. Now I get my gear on before the show starts because I'm ready. Where before I was in a mission, I'm stressing out and I've got to get all me, bits and pieces on. But as soon as that sound hits, I know who I am and I don't need to worry about anything else. And then if you then become confident in your ability to what you got to do out there, you might know what you might know what your end sequence is or what the spot you got to hit, but I don't want to know anything else like that because my brain doesn't work with programming it from A to Z. Because if I forget E, I'm going to skip down to W, and then you're going to lose them. And then how do you call an audible if you're programmed from A to Z and they're not responding? Well, you're up shit, aren't you?
Yeah, you're in a spot there where you don't know what to do. You don't know how the character is. But as you said there's a lot of people that they don't know who their characters is. Do you feel like character work is slowly dying in the business? Do you feel like that?
It's certainly not in my promotion.
No,
because I
mean in general.
Hey, I don't think it is. I just think that I don't think it's dying. I just don't think at the moment it's just not done enough. And when it is done, they do become like larger than life. You know what I mean? I think it's so important. Especially look, you don't always get it straight away. And I'll be the first one to put my hand up. It took me 15, 20, however many years. I wasn't doing what I was doing now. I would be out of the wrestling business by now if it didn't change my character and look and whatnot.
Yeah.
And to Luke's credit, he was the only one that gave me a go when I came back. He's the only one that said, okay, let's give this a go. You look like an idiot, but it's actually quite funny. It kind of looks like you. I think it's your personality. Let's roll with it. You know what I mean? And it invigorated me. You know what I mean?
Look at their vignette. Look at their vignette. Look at the vignettes they do now.
Oh, they're brilliant. I actually legit look forward to watching them.
Amen. And I remember at one of my second training facilities or whatever. I remember me and Rob. I was trying to get a promo. It was me versus him.
I was terrible. I was terrible. You know what I mean?
Really bad. He cut this promo and he was trying to tap into it, and I'm just like, and he finally found that spot. Hit out the promo, and and the promo probably only went 30 seconds or a minute. He was so physically exhausted and mentally exhausted at the same time after cutting that promo, but he had knocked it out of the park. And that's my thing with Rob. The saddest thing is he would have been whatever he wanted to be, and more, even because you think about the people. He was around Moxley and again, still takes 15, 20 years to get to wherever you're going. But 100%. I just he had no one can challenge him as far as the technical side and being that ring technician. But if he had somebody to teach him how to tap into a promo or like to just throw, throw it at the wall, see if it sticks, and just practice that over and over, the man's got the total package. And if you've ever seen photos of what his body was back in the day as well, like he had the cosmetics and whatever. And so the characters, are they dying? Like, I don't know. I just think that it's they've probably developed. Like, I think it's like when you're talking about the bushwhackers and that, you don't necessarily have them sort of characters coming out, but
it's evolved, really.
One thing that bothers me with a few young people as well, they do go to me, they don't want to be so cartoony. They want to get away from it. I'm like, get away from what? And then when they do get away from it, they're so fucking bland.
No,
they're
so Rob, you've hit the nail on the head again. So what are they trying to get away from? They're trying to get away from the formula that actually friggin' works.
We're trying to get away from what? Making yourself over, like money. Like, what are you doing?
People are worried that they make themselves stupid. The first trip of the Dudley Boyz thing, they booked me on a show, and I was being tested. Now until this day, I still don't know, right? So they gave me the gimmick. I didn't get to choose. I didn't get to come with it, and I was the runt, so I just went with it. They gave me the gimmick of the bearded lady, right? So they gave me the bearded lady. So I went out. So I thought, and I had a good mate of mine, Omar, in the class, and he was green as day. And he came up to me and goes, "I can't believe you're doing this gimmick." But this is 2011, right? And and he's like, "That is so gay." And obviously, you wouldn't get away with saying something like that right now, right? No. But they were his words back then. And I was just like, mate, I don't know if I'm being tested or whatever, but I've paid like 12 grand, like combined total, to be here for this trip. I'm here to show that I'm different. And I said, I am going to be the best fucking bearded lady that there ever was. So I went down to Walmart. I bought the boob tube dress. I bought the grandma undies that like go over the whole thing. They had makeup. They had everything done. I had the lipstick, and was it a weird feeling having all that go on me? Yes. I had them all in stitches, and I'm even going to say Bubba and Devon included. So I was thinking, what can I do, right? So I come out to my milkshakes, bring all the boys to the yard, right? And then that fist drop that I've got now that I do, I'm like Bad Street Baby. I got up to the middle rope and I did the milkshake thing, where doing the peck thing, whatever. But to get heat, I would get the guy in an abdominal stretch, and then when the ref's not looking, I would jam my thumb up his ass for a reaction, and then I'd bring it back out and I'd smell it and lick it and do this, right? And they just couldn't believe that this young kid from Australia had the balls or that was the reaction of, oh, it's so airy fairy, and they wanted to label it. I can't believe you're doing it. Motherfucker, you've got me a spot on the show.
Yeah.
You guys have been in the system for 2 years and haven't been given any opportunity. They saw that I had the mechanics in the ring. They went and did it, and I was just like, I'm going to be the best bearded lady there ever was. There's a character still to this day right there.
Yeah, 100%. And people forget, people are so worried about how they're going to look. Oh, that's degrading. You're in the wrestling business. Make it fucking work. Whatever you just
pretend wrestling someone in tights, in fake tan and whatever.
That's what I'm saying. Like, make it work. Don't be scared to look like an idiot. Don't be scared to try things. Don't be scared to try and branch off into whatever you've been taught. You know what I mean?
Everyone wants to be Triple H or CM Punk or
exactly.
Whatever it is, like,
the bad motherfucker. Yeah, they want to be the cool.
And there's only one of them, and guess what? They drew millions of dollars, and you're not it because you don't even go lift weights in the gym.
Yeah, correct.
They're shooting the shit.
That's it. But on that note, we've been talking for an hour and a half here, man. Yeah. And I think we got to do a part 2 because I feel like this conversation could go for hours on end. But Hunter, where can everyone find you on social media? Where can they follow you? follow your journey, and also follow Rock and Roll and find out when upcoming shows are on the horizon.
Sure. So just Rock and Roll Wrestling on Facebook and on Instagram, and I believe there's a Twitter up and running as well. I've got a Hunter Piers Hayes Facebook that is like the like page, at Oz Freebird on Twitter and probably Instagram, and then I've just got a personal page too. But you know what, guy, I really appreciate tonight. It's been a lot of fun, especially, you know, just talking to you guys and just throwing out, you know, stories and ideas, and it's been a pleasure. I'm really glad I did it, which I was, you know, I don't do these things, so it's just good to catch up.
Thanks for coming, bro.
Man. It was great to have you on. But, man, make sure you go check out Rock and Roll Wrestling and Hunter P.S. Hayes. Also, go check out Robbie Zucco on social media at Livin' La Vida Loca on Instagram, where you can see some of those amazing promos. But also, guys, make sure you go and check out healthvape.com. Use that promo code MWAPOD to get a 10% discount. But you've been watching the greatest podcast in the world, baby. This is Shooting the Shit, uncensored, and I am the dad bod god, the truth, the bald, the beard, the beautiful Piers Austin. And Hunter, Rob, I appreciate you guys, man. Thank you for coming on. Till next time.
One last thing.
Go for it,
really,
brother.
hats off to you, champion, for putting something like this together, because you should be really commended for someone that hasn't been around that long and that you just giving your time and energy in such a positive manner to the business. So thank you.
Man, I appreciate it, man. Thank you so much. On that note, we'll wrap it up. Take care. All the best. Peace.